After a night back on the ship, we are leaving early in the morning for a bus ride to Marrakech. The drive will take about 3 hours. We'll have excursions and an overnight in Marrakech. During the day, the Aegean Odyssey and the passengers who did not choose the land excursions will sail to Agadir. The sun is still low in the morning and makes long shadows of the bus ahead of us, reminding us that we are moving south. Most of the fields have been harvested, but this one shows the remnants of some leafy crop. The soil for agriculture is very reddish, but the ground in the distance shows different hues. We are entering the low foothills to the north of the main ridge of the Atlas Mountains. This ridge is called the High Atlas Mountains. There are now interesting rocky outcrops along the road. The bus is entering the city of Marrakech on our way to our first stop, Le Jardin Majorelle. French painter Jacques Majorelle created this beautiful garden over a 40-year period. After his death, in 1980 Yves Saint Laurent purchased the property and refurbished it, adding a small Berber museum. Majorelle painted mainly Moroccan people and scenery. The garden has a large collection of well-tended cacti, desert and tropical plants, as well as a pond with water-loving species. Photography is not allowed inside the Berber Museum, but a few of Berber clothing were snapped without a flash. The excursion moves on to the Medina, where we will walk to 4 points of interest, starting with a lunch at the Dar es Salaam restaurant, then on to the Palais Bahia, the Medersa Ben Youssef, and ending in the large commercial square of Jemma El Fna. From the large gate, we stroll to the Dar es Salaam restaurant and avoid being run over by motorized equipment, using the same narrow streets. It is an impressive entrance through a large building. Hostesses, dressed in traditional robes, greet us, and as each couple walks in, a souvenir picture is taken. The restaurant consists of many large dining rooms with chandeliers, providing a dim light. The Moroccan lunch concludes with locally grown clementines. On the way to the Bahia Palace, we go by various shops selling everything: cooking supplies, herbs, spices, ropes, and one selling black soap. Our guide explains that this is the soap of choice for ablutions before prayers. The Bahia Palace was built over the years starting in 1859 by the Grand Vizier of the Sultan. It was expanded many times, became the residence of the French Protectorate Resident General in 1912, and of the King of Morocco when Morocco gained its independence from France in 1956. King Hassan II turned it over to the Ministry of Culture as a cultural icon, and it is now a tourist attraction. The palace is a masterpiece of Moroccan architecture, famous for the extravagance of intricate marquetry and its elaborately designed, carved and decorated cedar ceilings. The next stop will be a look at the Ben Youssef medersa after a long walk in the Medina. Medersa or madrasa is a Muslim theological college. A cat has found a peaceful spot to sleep in the sun on the roof of a car. The last stop is Jema El Fna, a large commercial square at the edge of the Medina. The sun is getting low, casting warm light on the buildings. These pastries look fabulous, and the honey seems to ooze from every piece. After a short walk, the bus takes the group to the Movenpick Hotel, where we will spend the night. After a 30-minute rest, it is now dark, and we assemble outside to wait for the bus that will take us to the restaurant. The decorative fountains are eerie with the flames coming right out of the water. Dinner will be at the Palais Gharnata, a very posh Moroccan restaurant with live music and belly dancers. A guide from a restaurant is waiting to escort the group. Walking through dark alleys and tunnels at night is a bit creepy. The hot dishes are brought to the table in traditional round ceramic tagines. The service is very professional, but at 1 minute per plate it will be 10 minutes before we are all served. The food was excellent, but far from plentiful. With the main course finished, the brief belly dancing show begins. It is quite dark, and I do not have a great location to shoot video from. Another pink and warm sunrise greets us in Marrakech. Today we will rejoin the Aegean Odyssey in Agadir with a stop in Taroudant for lunch and a walk through Medina. Marrakech is located in the foothills to the north of the main ridge of the Atlas Mountains, known as the High Atlas. The bus is climbing through the lower hills and takes a long tunnel under the main ridge, with peaks over 4,000 meters high. We have a brief rest stop after the tunnel, and the bus continues through the very dry and colorful landscape. The geology of this part of the Atlas Mountains started about 200 million years ago, when a supercontinent called Pangaea drifted apart, separating America and Africa. The rift created large sedimentary basins under the ocean. Between 60 and 2 million years ago, the collision of Europe and Africa uplifted these huge sedimentary basins into the High Atlas in Africa. The red siltstone and sandstones create the stunning colors and layers in the eroding landscape. The current city wall of Taroudant dates from the 16th century, and its 8 kilometers surround the city. It is the highest city wall in Morocco and reported to be the third most robust wall in the world. We are headed towards Hotel Palais for buffet lunch. Taroudant has a long history of strategic importance in the caravan trade from Sub-Sahara and the west coast, as well as a crossroad with a trade between the north and the south. For a period in the 12th century, it was the capital of the region and the seat of local royalty. At that time, the first ramparts were built. It is Friday and a weekly holiday for Muslims in Morocco. The markets are closed and empty, and the usual Medina crowds have vanished. Produce stalls are empty and will be ready for trading the next day. We get back on the road towards Agadir and the ship, and for a while we follow a precarious load, wondering if the swaying boxes will all tumble down in front of the bus. One last stop to learn about the Argan tree, endemic to Morocco. Its fruits are a source of oil used on bread and couscous, as well as in the production of many cosmetics. We are back on board for dinner and the continuation of our cruise to the Canary Islands.